People laugh at the quiet man, thinking he is weak. They don't know he has already fought battles they could never survive. Marcus Reed had lived many lives in 40 years. But to anyone who met him now, he seemed ordinary. He had moved into a quiet neighborhood on the edge of a mid-sized American city. A place where people walked their dogs in the evening and waved politely without asking too many questions. Marcus liked it that way. After 2 decades of service as a captain in the United States Army, he was ready to enjoy something resembling peace. He never told the neighbors who he had been. When they asked about his past, he simply said he had worked for the government and recently retired. That was true, but it left out the desert sands he had walked across, the battles he had commanded, and the men who had followed his orders into danger. He carried those memories silently, the way soldiers carry scars beneath their shirts. What Marcus wanted now was simple. He wanted discipline without bullets, challenge without loss. So one morning, while walking through town, he noticed a karate academy tucked between a coffee shop and a hardware store. The glass windows displayed pictures of young athletes in white uniforms, belts tied neatly around their waists. A sign in bold letters read, "Discipline, strength, respect." Marcus paused. Those 3 words had guided his military life. They were words he believed in. He stepped inside. The academy smelled of sweat and polished mats. The sounds of punches hitting pads echoed against the walls. Young men and women, most of them in their 20s, moved with quick energy. Some stretched, some sparred, others laughed as they practiced kicks. The instructor, a sharp-eyed man in his mid-30s, barked orders that carried authority. Marcus approached the front desk, where a young receptionist looked up at him. She smiled politely, though her eyes seemed surprised. "First time here, sir?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. "I'd like to sign up for classes." She handed him a form. As he filled it out, he noticed a few students glancing his way. He wore simple gym clothes, nothing flashy. His face had lines of experience, his hair flecked with gray. He looked like someone's older uncle, not a new martial arts student. When he handed back the form, the receptionist asked, "Have you done martial arts before?" Marcus shook his head. "Not formally. But I'm ready to learn." That answer was enough for her, but not for the students, who whispered to one another nearby. Marcus caught fragments of their conversation. Words like "too old" and "what's he doing here" floated in the air. He didn't react. Years in the Army had trained him not to flinch at whispers. The instructor, whose name was Coach Miller, welcomed him with professional courtesy. "Glad to have you join us. Classes can be intense, but as long as you show up with focus, you'll improve." Marcus nodded. "That's all I ask." The first day was humbling. While the younger athletes moved with practiced speed, Marcus worked carefully to learn the basics. His balance was steady, his posture controlled, but his movements lacked polish. Some students laughed quietly when he stumbled during a kicking drill. One Chinese student muttered something about grandfathers trying to relive their youth. Marcus heard it. He chose silence. As class ended, he bowed respectfully, the way the others did, and thanked the coach. He could feel eyes on his back as he walked out, but none of it disturbed him. Inside, a calm fire burned. That night, Marcus sat alone in his living room. His medals and photographs were stored in boxes he rarely opened. But he thought about them now. He remembered the faces of soldiers who had once doubted him, men who had later followed him into fire because they discovered his strength. Joining the Karate Academy wasn't about proving anything to others. It was about reminding himself that discipline doesn't end with retirement. But he knew the road ahead wouldn't be simple. He had seen the arrogance in the young athletes' eyes, and he sensed that sooner or later they would test him. Marcus leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, patience, discipline, respect. These were not just words on a sign. They were the foundation of his life. Tomorrow, he would return to the academy, and whatever came, he was ready. Marcus returned to the academy the next morning. He had slept well, rising early, as always. His body clock still trained by years of military routine. When he stepped inside, the atmosphere was alive with energy. Students were warming up, punching pads, stretching and laughing among themselves. The academy walls were filled with motivational posters, strength, respect, discipline, words that should have meant something. But Marcus already sensed that here, those words were not always honored. He joined the warm-ups quietly, blending into the group. His movements were measured, his stretches precise. He had always believed in taking care of his body, even when the army demanded more than it seemed capable of giving. As the drills began, Marcus paired with a tall young man named Jake. Jake was in his 20s, blonde-haired, muscular, and confident. Too confident. He smirked at Marcus as if this pairing was a joke. "Try to keep up, old man," Jake said. Marcus smiled faintly but said nothing. They began practicing basic punches. Jake hit the pads hard and fast, showing off. When it was Marcus's turn, he struck with slower, controlled power. The sound was quieter, but precise. Jake laughed. "You hit like you're afraid of breaking your hand," he mocked. Marcus ignored him. He had heard worse from drill sergeants and enemy combatants alike. Words were only words. Nearby, 2 Chinese students, Wei and Chen, whispered in Mandarin while watching Marcus. Then one of them laughed openly. "Look at him. He moves like he's stuck in slow motion. Maybe he came here to stretch his bones, not fight." Their voices carried across the mats. A few others chuckled. Coach Miller noticed but said nothing, too focused on leading the group. During a sparring exercise, Marcus was paired with another student, a wiry young man named Eric. The match was light contact, meant to build skill, not dominance. But Eric treated it like a chance to show off. He darted around Marcus, throwing fast kicks and jabs. Marcus defended calmly, blocking when necessary, stepping aside when possible. He didn't strike back much. He was observing, learning the rhythm of the academy. But the spectators didn't see discipline. They saw hesitation. When Eric landed a light kick to Marcus's side, he raised his arms like a champion. The crowd of students cheered. "See?" Jake shouted from the sidelines. "The old guy's got nothing." Marcus bowed respectfully at the end of the spar, as tradition required. Eric barely returned the bow, too busy basking in the attention. Later, in the locker room, Marcus overheard more whispers. Students laughed about him behind his back. They called him Grandpa, washed up, a wannabe. The Chinese students joked in their language, then switched to English just to make sure Marcus heard the punchline. He should be at home watching TV, not here wasting our time. Marcus sat quietly, tying his shoes. He did not argue. He did not defend himself. He had faced disrespect before, in the army. When younger recruits doubted his leadership, he had learned that silence often carried more weight than words. But inside, he felt the sting. Not because their words hurt his pride, but because they betrayed the very principles martial arts claim to teach: respect, discipline, strength. These students had missed the meaning entirely. That night at home, Marcus reflected. He sat at his kitchen table, sipping water, replaying the day in his mind. He thought of the soldiers he had led, men who had once dismissed him until they saw him in action. Respect had never come easily. It was always earned through patience, consistency, and courage. He looked at his hands. They were scarred, strong, steady. These were not the hands of weakness. They were the hands of survival, of sacrifice, of endurance. "Let them laugh," he murmured to himself. "One day, they will see." Marcus returned the next day and the next after that. The whispers did not stop. The laughter did not fade. But Marcus did not bend. He trained, he listened, he learned, and slowly. Though none of the others noticed, he was preparing. The day would come when silence would no longer be enough. By the third week, Marcus had fallen into a rhythm. He arrived early, stretched carefully, and practiced basics with quiet focus. He drilled punches, kicks, and blocks repeatedly. Not for speed or show, but for precision. His movements were not flashy, but they carried a weight of discipline that only he understood. The younger athletes still mocked him. Some rolled their eyes when he asked simple questions about stances or breathing. Others snickered when he failed to execute a spin kick with grace. Coach Miller corrected him patiently. But the students' arrogance was louder than their learning. Marcus didn't mind appearing slow. In the Army, he had trained rookies who thought strength was everything. He knew that skill without patience collapsed under pressure. One evening, as class ended, Marcus stayed behind on the mats after most students had left. He practiced quietly in the corner. His strikes were sharper now, his balance firmer. He worked through drills with a soldier's determination. Sweat rolled down his face, soaking his shirt, but he continued. Unbeknownst to him, Coach Miller watched from the doorway. He had noticed Marcus's persistence, though he said nothing yet. The arrogance among the students grew. Jake often mocked Marcus openly. "You should be teaching yoga, not karate," he sneered one night. Wei and Chen laughed and added their own taunts. "Maybe we should get him a walking stick for balance." The crowd chuckled. Marcus bowed his head, showing no anger. Inside, though, he stored their words like fuel. During one sparring class, Marcus faced Jake again. Jake charged with youthful speed, throwing wild kicks. Marcus defended steadily, blocking, sidestepping, absorbing the blows without aggression. He didn't strike back. The onlookers mistook restraint for weakness. "See?" Jake laughed. "He's afraid to fight." But what Marcus saw was different. He studied Jake's patterns. He noted his reliance on power over precision, his tendency to leave his guard open after each flashy move. Marcus cataloged these weaknesses quietly. Later that night, as he jogged around his neighborhood, Marcus reflected on the academy's culture. These young athletes were talented, yes, but they lacked humility. They mistook arrogance for confidence, noise for strength. Marcus remembered his first deployment overseas. When he had led a team of inexperienced soldiers, they too had been loud, brash, overconfident. It wasn't until the first firefight that they realized strength without discipline was nothing but fragility. By week 4, Marcus could sense a storm coming. The whispers had grown into louder challenges. Students spoke of testing him, of proving that he didn't belong. They wanted to embarrass him. Marcus felt it building, but he stayed patient. He trained quietly, waiting. The breaking point came on a Friday evening. The academy was packed, energy high as sparring sessions filled the mats. Marcus trained in the corner, focused on his drills. Jake, Wei, and Chen gathered nearby with a group of other students. They exchanged grins, nodding to each other as if preparing for a show. Jake stepped forward, his voice loud enough to silence the room. "Hey, old man. We're tired of watching you stumble around. How about you prove you actually belong here?" The academy went quiet. All eyes turned to Marcus. He straightened slowly, wiping sweat from his brow. His expression was calm, unreadable. Jake continued. "Let's make it simple. 3 rounds. You against us. 1 by 1. If you can last, maybe we'll take you seriously. If not, you should quit wasting our time." The crowd erupted with laughter and cheers. The challenge was entertainment for them. Coach Miller frowned. "This is not how we do things," he said. Sparring is about learning, not humiliating others. But Jake smirked. Come on, coach. He's been here weeks and hasn't proven anything. Let him show us what he's got. Unless he's too scared. Marcus looked around. The students' eyes burned with anticipation. Some mocked, others simply waited for the spectacle. He could have refused. He could have walked out. But this was not about pride. This was about dignity. He spoke quietly but firmly. I accept. The academy buzzed with shock. Some cheered, some doubted, but all were eager to see what would happen. Marcus sat on the edge of the mat while Coach Miller tried to reason with him. You don't have to do this. These kids are just trying to provoke you. You gain nothing by fighting them. Marcus nodded slowly. I understand. But sometimes silence is mistaken for weakness. I won't fight to prove pride. I'll fight to teach a lesson. Coach studied him for a long moment, then sighed. Very well. But control yourself. This is still my academy. Marcus bowed his head. Respect will remain. The students circled the mat like spectators at an arena. Phones came out, recording the event. Jake grinned confidently as he prepared for the first round. Wei and Chen stood nearby, eager for their turns. Marcus closed his eyes briefly, centering himself. He recalled the words etched in his memory. Discipline, strength, respect. He remembered leading soldiers into impossible battles, where fear could kill faster than bullets. He breathed deeply, steady and calm. When the whistle blew, he rose to his feet. Jake stepped forward with swagger. You're about to learn your place, Grandpa. Marcus said nothing. He simply raised his hands in guard, his stance steady. The decision had been made. He would not walk away. He would not allow arrogance to crush the meaning of discipline. He would fight, not for glory, but for respect. And as he looked at the eager faces around him, Marcus knew this was the moment they would finally learn who he really was. The students crowded around the mat, phones raised, faces filled with excitement. To them, this was more than sparring. It was theater. They expected to see Jake humiliate Marcus quickly, to watch the old man stumble and fall. Jake bounced on his feet, confident and cocky. He smirked at Marcus. Try not to break a hip. Marcus adjusted his stance, steady and quiet. He had no interest in banter. The whistle blew. Jake charged immediately, throwing a barrage of punches. They were fast, powerful, but sloppy. Marcus blocked, sidestepped, and absorbed with controlled movements. His years of combat training allowed him to stay calm, even under pressure. Jake grew louder, grunting with each strike, determined to break Marcus's guard. The crowd cheered with every attack. But Marcus's breathing remained even. He studied Jake's rhythm, the way he left his side exposed after each heavy punch. He waited, patient. Then, with a sudden step, Marcus countered. His fist connected cleanly with Jake's chest, pushing him backward. The sound echoed across the room. The crowd gasped. Jake stumbled, his confidence shaken. He roared, charging again, but Marcus slipped aside, landing a precise kick to his ribs. Jake bent over, gasping for breath. For the first time, the academy was silent. Jake tried one last, desperate attack, but Marcus caught his arm, twisted gently, and brought him to the mat with controlled force. He released immediately, showing respect. The whistle blew. Round 1 ended. Jake lay on the ground, stunned, his pride more bruised than his body. Marcus bowed respectfully, then stepped back. The crowd erupted. Some cheered in disbelief, others muttered excuses for Jake's loss. But one thing was clear. The old man had just defeated one of the academy's strongest. Marcus stood quietly, waiting for the next challenge. Wei stepped forward next. He was lean, fast, and sharp with technique. Unlike Jake, he did not underestimate Marcus openly. But his smirk carried arrogance. "You got lucky once," Wei said. "But speed beats age every time." The whistle blew. Wei exploded into motion, his kicks sharp and rapid. Marcus defended, blocking high and low, moving with discipline. Wei's strikes landed lightly, enough to score in a normal spar. But Marcus absorbed them with calm. The crowd cheered for Wei's speed. He danced around Marcus, delivering flashy combinations. Yet Marcus never lost balance. He observed, waiting for the right moment. Wei grew bolder. He spun for a high kick. Marcus ducked, stepped in, and delivered a powerful strike to Wei's midsection. The air rushed out of him. He staggered. Marcus followed with precise jabs, controlled but strong. Wei tried to recover, but his rhythm broke. Marcus seized the opening, sweeping his leg and dropping him to the mat. The whistle blew. Round 2 ended. Wei sat on the floor, shocked. He had trained for years, but he had never faced such calm precision. The crowd was silent again. Their laughter was gone, replaced with disbelief. Marcus bowed respectfully once more, his face calm. Now Chen stepped forward. He was the Academy's champion, the fighter everyone admired. Strong, disciplined, and skilled. He was not like Jake or Wei. He carried himself with pride, but also with control. The room grew tense. Everyone leaned in, eager to see if Marcus could survive this test. The whistle blew. Chen attacked with balance and skill. His punches were sharp, his kicks timed. Marcus defended, but this fight was different. Chen was not reckless. He was patient too. For several minutes, the two exchanged blows, neither dominating. The crowd roared with every strike. Sweat dripped from both men, their breathing steady but heavy. Marcus felt the burn in his muscles, but he welcomed it. He had endured worse in battlefields, carrying soldiers across gunfire. This was nothing compared to that. Chen aimed a heavy kick at Marcus's head. Marcus blocked just in time, countering with a swift punch that connected solidly. Chen staggered but did not fall. He came back stronger, forcing Marcus to push deeper. Then Marcus remembered his army training. Strategy wins when strength fails. He baited Chen with an opening, allowing him to strike. Chen lunged forward. At the last second, Marcus pivoted, delivering a precise blow to his shoulder and sweeping his legs from under him. Chen hit the mat hard. The whistle blew. The Academy went silent, the weight of the moment sinking in. Marcus had defeated their champion. Chen sat up slowly, nodding in respect. Unlike Jake and Wei, he understood what had just happened. He bowed deeply to Marcus. Coach Miller stepped forward, astonished. "Marcus, who are you really?" For the first time, Marcus spoke openly. "I am a retired captain of the United States Army. I served for 20 years. I led men through battles where hesitation meant death. I came here not to prove I was stronger, but to find discipline and peace." The room was silent. Students who had mocked him felt their faces burn with shame. Jake lowered his head, unable to meet Marcus's eyes. Wei turned away, embarrassed. Coach Miller nodded slowly. "That explains everything. You carry yourself with a discipline most people will never understand." Marcus bowed respectfully. Discipline, strength, respect. These are not words to decorate walls. They are words to live by. The Academy was no longer laughing. They were listening. After the fights ended, the students gathered around Marcus. The arrogance in their eyes was gone, replaced with respect and curiosity. Marcus stood calmly. "You all laughed at me because of my age, my silence, my mistakes. You saw weakness where there was patience. You saw hesitation where there was discipline. Let me tell you something. Strength is not in how loud you are. Strength is in how calm you remain under fire. Respect is not earned by mocking others. It is earned by living with honor. He looked around the room, meeting each pair of eyes. Do not judge a person by how they look or how old they are. You do not know the battles they have already fought. The students nodded, some ashamed, some inspired. Coach Miller placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Thank you. You've given this academy a lesson we all needed. Marcus bowed once more. I came here to learn. But sometimes life has other plans. He walked out quietly that night, leaving behind silence heavy with thought. The academy would never forget the day the quiet man revealed who he truly was. Moral lesson of the story is that never judge someone by appearances. True strength and respect are proven through patience, humility, and discipline. Your turn. What's the life lesson you're walking away with? Tell us in the comments. Like and subscribe the channel for more interesting videos.